Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the Monday, July 7th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, major leakages, high energy costs and issues related to governance have all been identified as some of the problems which must be urgently addressed by the Barbados Water Authority and other similar utilities across the region. That's why several top officials are here on the island examining these concerns and trying to find solutions during a two-day regional water sector workshop hosted by the Caribbean Development Bank. CDB Operations Officer O'Reilly Lewis tells CBC News the issues were highlighted in a two-year CDB study conducted in 17 member countries, including Barbados.
Barbados is not dissimilar to the other countries, and there are some improvements that could take place in governance issues, maybe some of the legal framework, some of the water management practices. And there is room, I'm sure, for improvement, as with all the utilities, in terms of the efficiency operations of the utility. So those are the type of the issues in relation to leakage, high energy costs, maybe strengthening the capacity at the utility. Those are the type of challenges that came up across the board, and some of those will apply to Barbados.
Meanwhile, Barbados and other governments in the region are being told to look at a new concept for financing projects geared to improve water supply. The advice comes from Hans Jensen, consultant with the Coal Engineering Group, who spoke on the topic, the water sector, opportunities for the Caribbean.
An initiative you could think of is to create a regional investment facility to help utilities to make their investments in the water sector, especially those utilities which are at the margin of bankability, which do not have yet the access to commercial finance. Because today it will not be only commercial finance, it will not be only public finance, it will be a hybrid grant, public and commercial. And such a facility can help bridge sometimes the gap you have to go for that, in that direction.
A local economist has revealed plans which he says will help the University of the West Indies KPhil campus significantly reduce its reliance on government funding. Dr. Winston Moore, senior lecturer in the Department of Economics, says the proposal is contained in the UWI KPhil 2012 to 2017 strategic plan.
And there are two things that we're looking at: greater postgraduate enrollment and the introduction of an international summer school. Both of those things would have impacts on the foreign exchange earning numbers that we spoke about earlier, as well as the direct economic contribution of the KPhil campus. So I think these two elements which I've pulled out, if we can get these implemented, would increase the economic footprint of the campus significantly.
Managers are still challenged by the number of prospective employees who come into the workplace with excellent academic qualifications, but very little in the way of soft skills. This observation from Manager of Marketing and Public Relations at the Bridgetown Port Inc., Frida Nichols. She was at the time addressing the official opening ceremony of the University of the West Indies Open Campus Annual CXC Summer School. Speaking to the students, Ms. Nichols says key among these soft skills is having the right attitude.
What is attitude? It's your way of thinking and how your behavior reflects this. Do you have a positive attitude? Or are you always seeing the negativity in everything? Do you make good choices? Or do you do the wrong thing knowing full well that it is wrong? How do you react when you are corrected by an adult or a prefect at school? How do you behave in school? How do you behave on the street? All this is governed by your attitude, and a positive attitude leads to better results in your studies.
The annual summer school helps secondary school students transition from 4th to 5th year. It is a 5-week program and 14 subjects are offered. Well, if Culture Minister Stephen Lashley has his way, Bridgetown will become a hive of cultural activity. He says the restoration of the Empire Theatre will be added to efforts which have already started.
Mr. Lashley was the featured speaker at last night's Central Bank Cropover Visual Arts Festival held at the Grand Salle. He told the audience, made up of several of the artists who entered pieces in this year's festival, along with many art enthusiasts, that permission has already been granted for the restoration of the Empire Theatre, and funds have already been provided for the preparatory work for restoring the buildings in Queen's Park.
I do hope that when this particular part of the project starts, that what will happen will be a response from the business community by means of financial assistance to ensure that this project can accelerate.
Meantime, 2 veteran artists carried away 2 of the festival's top prizes. Omawali Stewart won the Governor's Award and the $10,000 that came with it for his piece We Crop, We Culture. He told CBC News he was honored to have won the award for one of the 2 pieces he entered this year.
They represent basically my technical creative ability and my passion for the folk culture of Barbados. And they're both represented in my love for color and people.
Ashanti Trotman was the night's other top winner, taking home the Central Bank's Award of Excellence. He too won $10,000, and it was the second time in as many years. His piece is called When Sugar Was King.
The piece is executed in Barbadian mahogany, and it speaks to a period in time when sugar was king in Barbados. And the central motif that I used is a very big, strong, strapping African man who is symbolic of the slaves that were brought to Barbados to harvest the sugarcane.
Over 100 pieces were entered in the competition this year. The exhibition opened today and runs until August 8th at 3 locations: the Grand Salle, the Spirit Bond Mall in Bridgetown, and the Queen's Park Gallery at Pelican Village.
Local manufacturers are often at a disadvantage when competing against foreign products, and government is prepared to do what it can to level the playing field. This assurance from Industry, International Business, Commerce and Small Business Development Minister Donville Innes.
The reality about it is that a lot of what we import into Barbados is actually subsidized by the governments from whence they're coming from. And I'm a firm believer, whilst I don't believe in handouts, and I certainly believe in a fair market, the harsh reality about it is that the playing field is not really level. And we have to find ways in Barbados in which we can ensure that our manufacturing sector grows. Is currently contributing, I believe, about 4.2% of GDP, and we need to see that increase.
Minister Innes says as a consequence, government will focus on areas that will make a meaningful difference in the ability of local manufacturers to compete.
So therefore, we are going to certainly be looking at matters pertinent to energy costs and taking advantage of the recent legislation of the Electric Light and Power Act and the suite of incentives offered for the renewable energy sector in Barbados to help drive the cost of energy downwards in a very permanent way. It means that we are certainly going to work with bodies like BIDC and international agencies to have our manufacturing plants become a lot more efficient and drive the unit cost of production down in terms of the processes they employ.
There's more news just ahead, but first we want to hear from you on the question: do you believe qualifications rather than experience are most important attributes for a job? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results for you at the end of the news.
Right from its start over 80 years ago, Goddard Enterprises made innovation and diversification its own proud tradition. Today's Goddard Enterprises Limited is one of the Caribbean's foremost and diversified multinational corporations, comprising more than 50 companies in over 20 countries. Goddard Enterprises Limited is catering, manufacturing, hospitality and service business, financial, and marketing and distribution of world-famous brands. Goddard Enterprises, the tradition of innovation and service since 1921.
I sent a text to the economic program, and then I got a call saying that I was a winner. This system is beautiful. For baths, it is excellent. I want to thank SunPower for this wonderful gift and giving back to the community. And I want to say again, thanks very much to Economics and SunPower, and I encourage everyone to watch the show. You too can be a winner.
Yes, it's SunPower.
Police have arrested and charged one of their own with assault and criminal damage. 37-year-old Marcel Cullimore is accused of assaulting his wife and committing damage to a bus owned by the Barbados Defence Force over the weekend. Cullimore appeared at Magistrates Court and was granted bail. The new Massey Stores Supercentre will soon be unveiling its newly branded Massey Shopping Card to replace the existing Classic Card. This is according to Gervais Warner, President and CEO of the Massey Group.
As of the 14th, or is it the 15th of July, your Classic cards are going to be transformed into Massey cards. Same strong credit that you would enjoy in stores. Loyalty programs will now be available across all of the entire Massey family, including United Insurance. And of course, this program will also be extending beyond our Massey family into some strategic partnerships that we are extending to right now. And so round about the 14th, we will start launching this, and cards will start being distributed and start coming out to you in the mail.
Mr. Warner also says from the end of this month, the company will start to roll out a major campaign for the card, outlining new features and partnerships. Neither of the two main unions representing teachers in Barbados has heard of any job losses among members. President of the Barbados Union of Teachers, Pedro Shepherd, says so far there hasn't been any indication that the contracts of temporary workers won't be renewed. However, Barbados Secondary Teachers Union President Mary Ann Redmond has warned that with the school year officially ending in August, any such notices would possibly come later in the holiday. She says in the meantime, there is stiff competition among teachers for the few permanent posts available.
I know there have been permanent positions advertised, and temporary persons have applied for those permanent positions. The problem is that there only have been X amount of permanent positions advertised, and of course a much larger number of temporary persons applying for those posts. So as you can imagine, it is creating a serious feeling of unease, and persons are understandably worried about their continued employment.
Ms. Redmond says some of those who've been granted interviews are concerned about what they think are alleged irregularities in attempts to place people permanently.
Some persons are feeling that they are not quite satisfied with some of what has taken place in the interview and leading up to the interviews, and so the union is being bombarded almost daily with calls and emails from disaffected teachers who want us to look into some of what has taken place surrounding their interviewing process, or the possibility of renewal of their contract.
Over 30 youth will get the opportunity to develop their agricultural skills this summer. It comes as they take part in the Children's Community Health Club Agricultural and Craft Summer Camp. Coordinator of the camp, Beverly John, says it will provide children with lifelong skills in agriculture and foresees it growing in the future. She was speaking at the Clapham Community Centre over the weekend.
If you grow a tree and that tree bears fruit, what can you do with that fruit? What was that? You can eat it. But if you only work in an office and that's all you know to do, if you have no food, what are you going to do? Starve. Am I putting down office work? No, I'm not at all. But I'm saying, look, it's still good to attain, go out there, seize the world, be the best you can be. But always have a skill that can actually, you can use your hand, that can actually feed you.
Participants will travel to Trinidad between August 8th and 13th as guests of that country's agriculture minister. Former parliamentarian Hamilton Lashley says it's a worthy venture, and he wants government departments to allocate a portion of their budgets to similar community programs.
Those persons who have been saddled with that responsibility of looking after the social development of this country will be held accountable, and seriously so, if they do not justly transfer those allocations of sums to help the development of the communities, to protect the communities of Barbados with special projects and programs like this.
Parents are being reminded to ensure the haircuts of boys, particularly those entering secondary school, conform to the rules and are appropriate. The advice has come from Senior Education Officer Joy Adamson.
That is not for secondary school. That is okay for their now and for the vacation. Make sure it grows out in time so that come September the 10th that they have a proper haircut. If they say do not bring cell phones to school or tablets to schools or electronic equipment to school, obey the school rules. And you have to be the ones setting the standard for the children.
The senior education officials' comments came at the graduation ceremony for the class of 2014 of the Blackman and Gollop Primary School. Some 60 students, 31 girls and 29 boys comprise the graduating class. Principal Jocelyn Brewster says the school has been working to improve the performance of its students, noting Class 4 did well in the 11+ exam.
The highest raw score in math was 96. The lowest was 13. More children scored a higher raw score or above 50 in mathematics than in English. This year, we have seen an improvement in the grades for composition writing.
And featured speaker Pastor Dwight Saul was a hit with the crowd. He donned many hats to get his point across as he encouraged students to dream big and strive for excellence.
If you're saying, you know what, I want to be in construction, it means that ensure that you put yourself in the place to be in construction. So if you want to build some blocks on me, buy some Legos or something, because this boy is going to build a house. If perchance that you want to be like Jay and you want to go into the hairdressing business, get the best weave that you can get, Jay. Same with me, I can start with one way and I can sell it. And depending upon how it goes, then I will do it.
Well, the 2014 graduating class of the St. Cyprian's Boys School has been told that in order to achieve their dreams, they have to believe in themselves. The words of advice came from Rommel Green, who was the featured speaker at the school's graduation. 29 boys graduated from the Britain's Crossroads School, boasting among them one of the top performers on the island. Johanse Lewis, the class valedictorian, took the examination a year early and will attend Harrison College come September. And while he congratulated them for excelling in the examination, Mr. Green questioned the validity of the test.
The Barbados Secondary School's entrance exam measures linguistic and mathematical intelligences only. But there are other multiple intelligences which are not taken.
Well, regional news is next, but first a reminder that we want to hear from you on tonight's question. Do you believe qualifications rather than experience are the most important attributes